of the Commission for their commitment to serve the people of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the success of this entire registration process over the past few months is of course not just the success of the Electoral Commission and its staff. I also would like, on behalf of the Commission, to thank all stakeholders for their support and cooperation. They share in this very positive start of the election process. I would like to thank all political parties who encouraged voters to register and who worked with us to ensure the smooth operations at registration stations. I would like to thank the media for helping to spread the word about the importance of voting and registering, and to thank community leaders and civil society groups who worked with us to encourage registration and to help with facilities and operations in all communities. I would also like to thank those in government, especially law enforcement agencies and the Department of Home Affairs, for their support and assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, the story of this weekend's registration success is a story of a young people and a young democracy. It is a story of a democracy not withering, but flourishing, and taking root among a new generation of enthusiastic young voters who we trust will carry it forward for another 20 years or more. Evidence of this shift is the fact that 79.89% of all new registrations this weekend, or 1.06 million, are voters under the age of 30. This included 691,002 voters aged 20 and 29, 255,398 voters aged 18 and 19, and 59,860 voters aged 16 and 17. Ladies and gentlemen, in October 2013, before the registration drive and our targeted campaigns aimed at encouraging young people to register, there were just 167,535 registered voters aged 18 to 19. Today, that number has soared to 683,201, an increase of over 300%. I'm also proud to say that once again, the young women of our country have led the way and upstaged their male counterparts, with women under 30 making up 52.9% of new registrations compared to 47.1% who are young men. I think we have to applaud women. Let's do that. In terms of new registrations, the following are the provincial totals. Eastern Cape, 130,072 new voters, representing 10.33%. Free State, 70,161 new voters, representing 5.57%. Gauteng, 339,728 new voters, representing 26.97%. KwaZulu-Natal, 298,652 new voters, representing 23.71%. Limpopo, 86,835 new voters, representing 6.89%. Mpumalanga, 97,732 new voters, representing 7.76%. Northwest, 74,389 new voters, representing 5.9%. Northern Cape, 25,332 new voters, representing 2.1%. And Western Cape, 136,659 new voters, representing 10.85%. The overall registration level against estimated eligible population for the provinces is as follows. Eastern Cape, 85.3%. Free State, 85.8%. Gauteng, 77%. KwaZulu-Natal, 83.6%. Limpopo, 81%. Mpumalanga, 77.3%. Northwest, 78.5%. Northern Cape, 84.3%, and Western Cape, 77.8%. Ladies and gentlemen, registration has also been underway for overseas voters at South African diplomatic missions abroad. As of yesterday, we had received 3,521 applications for registration. According to figures provided by the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DECO, we anticipate approximately 700 more applications, and these are being couriered to us for capturing. Finally, prisoner registration was conducted at correctional services facilities throughout South Africa on Thursday and Friday last week. This process resulted in 9,949 applications for registration by prisoners. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the real work starts now for us and for all stakeholders, especially political parties. There is much still to be done to ensure efficient, effective, and credible elections. And we will continue to work hard to ensure the level of administrative and logistical preparations which South Africa has come to expect from the Electoral Commission. With a record number of voters and record number of young voters registered and ready to vote, we have laid the best possible foundation for a successful election in May. The job of convincing them to vote on May 7 is now in the hands of the contestants. I thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the great news this morning, in particular as we wrap up the voter registration weekend. I'm going to open the floor for the colleagues from the media to ask any questions or to seek clarification on any issues. Please don't forget to identify yourself, your name, as well as the media house that you represent, so that we can clarify any issue. I've opened the floor for questions. Let me take the first question.
My name is Neo Mokitun from SABC Radio. Chair, I might have missed your pronouncement on what is going to happen or what has happened, especially on areas which were affected by weather. I'm looking at areas such as the Khanyisa, the Northwest and the Northern Cape. There are claims that some of the stations didn't receive any material because of the weather, poor weather, up to the final day, that is on Sunday. Are we going to extend the registration besides the one that is currently underway for them to register the new flight office? Are we going to have a special opening window for those due to conditions that beyond their control couldn't really exercise their democratic rights? That's the first question, Chair. The second question is on the last part that you have mentioned, the prison registration. How are you going to make sure, I don't know whether how the process works in the prison, but what I know for a fact is that prisoners are being moved from one prison to another. I don't know whether that process has changed, but in the past it used to happen. How will it affect those who are in voters' roll A because of the mobility or transfers to other prison correctional services outside their province?
Let me take another question from this side.
My name is Ananta from ESA. I'm just really curious about So if I did not take the opportunity to register at the past weekend, what are my options? Thank you.
Okay, let me respond to the two questions. In the and now in areas that were affected by the weather, we will give those communities an opportunity to register, but through a targeted registration process. And we are in the process of discussing the modalities for that. Regarding prisoners, if a prisoner, for instance, is incarcerated at the Johannesburg prison and finds himself or herself in the Free State on voting day, if they are registered, they will be given a national ballot only and not a provincial ballot, because they will be voting outside the province where they are registered as voters. That's how the system works. I will ask my colleagues on my right, I'm sure they have the figures, they can just give us the glimpse of the registration activities, if they have, in areas that were affected by service delivery protests. So please, gentlemen, just look at that so that we can respond to Riranzu. If you didn't make use of the opportunity to register this past weekend, you can still register at our municipal electoral offices. We have an office in each municipality, and those offices are open during the week between 8 and 5 p.m. So voters can still visit our MEO offices to go and register, and registration will continue at our MEO offices until the proclamation of the election date, because as you know, on the date on which the president proclaims the election, the voters' roll will close.
Let me take another round of questions.
There is a question. I don't know if the CEO is ready to respond.
Yes.
With respect to the question about areas affected by protests, we do not have the stats available right at hand, but we can give you an indication that there were registrations in Beckersdale, for example. We have recorded over 2,300 voters over the weekend, but we can make those statistics for all those areas available to yourselves.
Were there any stations that were closed because of service delivery protests?
No. The stations remained open for the weekend. Where the operations of the stations were affected, they were affected only for a very short while. We kept them open on Saturday, and on Sunday we did not experience disruptions at all.
Let's take another question.
I'd just like to know, in light of what you just said about Beckersdale and other such areas where there might be violence, in terms of now looking forward, once it's election day, is the IEC worried at all about the officials that will be deploying in those areas and their safety? And if so, are there any extra security measures that you plan on putting in place, or are you not worried at all?
Let me check if there's any other question before the panel answers the question that's been provided. Let's proceed. Let's get the answer. Chairperson?
Of course, we are worried about what is happening in those areas that you have highlighted. We are worried about the safety of our staff. But, of course, we will be working with the law enforcement agencies to ensure that those areas are secured. But I'm hoping also that between now and election day, dialogue will take place between the communities in Beckersdale, Malamulele, and other areas, between the politicians and the communities to try and resolve whatever challenges are there. In fact, in some of the areas, those dialogues have already begun, and we hope that they will yield positive results.
Looks like we've covered all our questions. Zani, okay, let me take two other questions from my right.
Okay, my name is Mr. from SABC. I just need to know, your stance on the sequestration.
We don't have any comment on that, because that question only becomes relevant when we look at candidate nomination and we look at who qualifies and who doesn't qualify to stand as a candidate in terms of the Constitution and in terms of the law. So at this point in time, we don't want to comment on that question. Okay. Safe to indicate what the law provides in terms of who qualifies to stand as a candidate. And people who have been declared mentally ill by a court of law cannot stand as candidates. People who are unrehabilitated insolvents cannot stand as candidates in terms of the Constitution. And also people who have been convicted of a crime and sentenced to 2 years without an option of the fine are also not allowed to stand as candidates. So in broad terms, that's what the Constitution provides. And we will look at that question that you have asked at the time of candidate nomination.
Chairperson, we've seen yesterday that the Green Party was saying they're going to come to you to report the DA after allegations of lying about an incident that involves their deputy president. Have you received anything like that? And if so, if you do receive something like that, what in hand, what are the repercussions for such
As far as I know, we haven't received any complaint, and I think it would be premature for us to comment on something that we haven't seen. I, for one, have not even seen the media report that you're talking about. So we'll deal with that matter once we receive it.
Okay. Let's take a question from the gentleman.
I just wanted to find out as to what is the IEC stance in terms of the leadership battle facing the Pan-African Congress?
We don't enter disputes, internal disputes of political parties. We don't have a mandate to do that. So we hope that the PAC will resolve their internal disputes as we speak. Both groups are in court, and we will wait for the courts to pronounce on who the leader is.
Yeah, but Mr. last week insisted that the IEC will be commenting.
Look, I don't want to comment on that because every day we receive correspondence from lawyers of those two groups. So that stance changes almost every day. Today, we can get a court order that says Mr. Mphahlele is the correct leader or the rightful leader of PAC. The following day, there's another application challenging the previous one. So, so I think we should just not even go there. Let's wait for the courts to adjudicate this matter, and at that time we'll be able to give you a definitive response.
From Radio 702. I just want to get your comment on allegations that votes were rigged in Tonke.
The matter is just sub judice. That matter is before the electoral court. The applicants have made their case in that regard, and we have filed our papers, and we are waiting for the court to pronounce on the matter.
As well as to say, Chairperson, that as far as we know, there are only allegations about the rigging. And that is why it is awaiting the outcome of the court.
Okay. Just a follow-up. How safe, foolproof is it for the IEC system from vote rigging?
Our systems are foolproof, of course. I don't think you expect us to say that our systems are not foolproof. So I think we should wait for the court to pronounce on this matter, because we don't want to say to you, we are confident we'll win, and then the court decides otherwise. You have to remember that this organization consists of us who are here and full-time members of staff. When we have an election, we also engage temporary members of staff who work at our voting stations. And usually we cannot be at every voting station. So I'm appealing to all of us to say, let's not enter the realm of speculation. Let's wait for the court to decide on this matter.
But I think if I could also just add, we are dealing with a situation where the main allegation is that people have actually been ferried from one area to the other. So, in essence, we can't really say that there is a vote rigging. We trust our systems, and we believe that in our situation, everything that we have put in place will ensure that we have a credible election on the election day.
Let me take other two questions from the right here.
So basically, Chairperson, you do assure us that the IEC is above reproach.
Absolutely.
And you are credible, and all citizens can trust in the system.
Yes, we're making that assurance to all South Africans. As we have done in the past, we are going to deliver a free, fair, credible, and transparent election. And at an appropriate time, we will call you into this room to tell you the systems that we have put in place to ensure the transparency and the credibility of the election.
Lorenzo, you still want to ask your question, or you covered?
No, I'm
Okay, beautiful. Looks like, okay, let me take the last one from the far end.
Hey, sorry, just one question about observation of the elections. What groups have gotten involved? I understand that for the first time there will actually be almost auditing process.
I can't hear you, sorry.
I just wanted to ask about the observation of the election by, say, independent groups. Could you just comment on that? I understand for the first time the IEC opened up the process of application for actual secondary vote count by certain groups.
No, I don't know about that. Maybe my colleagues. Secondary vote count, I don't know about that. But observation, yes. We have issued adverts in the newspaper calling upon groups to apply to be accredited as election observations. And this applies to local civil society organizations. And of course, we'll also be awaiting to hear which organizations will come from out of the country to observe our elections. As far as results are concerned, what I know, and I'm going to defer to my colleagues, what I do know is that as we have done in the past, we're going to be engaging auditors who are going to be auditing our results, and these are independent auditors. But I don't know, and I don't think we have made any provision for alternate tallying of results. What we do, as we release the results, we release them to the media, to the political parties, and also South Africans can access our results. Tallying, parallel tallying, as you know, of results has caused a lot of problems in other countries. So we are not going to go there. The Minister of Home Affairs is the one who is responsible to declare public holidays. We'll be making an approach to her, but at this point in time, we have not. But we believe that, as in the past, it might be declared a public holiday.
Right.
Last one, purely out of self-interest, for media, will there be any special arrangements, and for policemen and for other people that might actually be quite busy during election day? Will there be any special arrangements made for people that really have little choice but to actually be working flat out during voting day?
Yeah.
Sorry. You did mention that you were quite worried about the violence, especially the safety of your staff. Have you raised this with relevant parties, and what is the response to that?
Let me start with the first question. Of course, there's going to be special votes for a number of various categories of people, and we'll be announcing that process once we have published the timetable. But in short, yes, special arrangements will be made through special votes that people can apply for. And they will then be allowed, once they have applied, to vote in advance. Of course, regarding the safety of our staff and violence in a few areas, we are in constant discussion with law enforcement agencies, with political parties. We have also, put together a team of conflict management experts who deal with the conflict before it escalates into violence. So this is something that we are mindful of, and it's something that we are doing.
On that note, looks like we have covered our questions, issues of clarification. Let me take this moment to thank the media more than any other group, Chairperson, on the sterling work during voter registration weekend. The media was brilliant. The partnership worked. They covered South Africa corner to corner. So thank you for that partnership. We're hoping that as we prepare the election timetable, you'll continue to support the Electoral Commission in undertaking this mandate. On that note, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate. Thanks to everybody. It's my chest behaved. I was holding my breath. You need a smile. Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, because I SMS'd because I didn't want to disturb everyone.
All right.
Well done, guys.
I know.
We said to the media that we take the number.
Yes, you've got to your
Can I give you my stick?
You want your stick? Where's the deal? Let's share the deal for you.
Okay.
How are you?
Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
You will schedule the things.
Yes, I will do the check.
Judge, how are you?
Do that.
Thanks for coming. I'm okay, thank you.
Always. This is my commission.
Say that again.
This is my commission. I'll always be here.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I just want to get clarity, I'm sorry, about the, you mentioned just now, this conflict management experience. Is it the first time we have something like that?
No, it's not the first time. We have conflict management before
Okay, areas to assess.
Yeah, to assess and also to try and deal with the conflict before it escalates into violence.
I see.
Yes.